0, 1. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. I am Angelina Mojica, and this is your Good Morning Minute. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is SheRa Renee, and we are excited. We're going to talk about thriving against the odds, a story of resilience and triumph. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're talking about here. It is determination, and that is required for anyone to overcome life's challenges. So I'm excited to hear what SheRa has to say as far as her narrative, the highlights of her journey in rising above adversity and showcasing the power of resilience in her story. SheRa, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. So I am SheRa Renee. I am from New Jersey. I am a podcaster. I am a mother of 2 boys. I go to school, work full time. I just do a whole bunch of things, but I mostly currently am the host of the Blemished Beauty Podcast. So that is my new love, hobby, and interest.
This is wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here, SheRa. And I just like to get into it. So let's just jump into some
Okay.
questions here. So, what specific challenges in your journey did you have to face to get where you are today?
So, me personally, I have been divorced twice.
Mm.
So, for me, that's a challenge all in itself. For those who are in the Christian faith and community, divorce is frowned upon. So, that's one thing that people definitely put thumbs down on. So, to do it not once, but twice, that's something all in itself. I've dealt with a miscarriage that was challenging, just giving myself, I should say, the courage to keep going, in spite of the devastation that I faced. And now being a single parent, a single mom, going from having a two-parent household and living and thriving with someone now to having to pivot and live and thrive by myself, that's been a challenge, but I managed to do it every day. So I'm still a work in progress, but it's better than where I started from.
Mm, mm. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable. And as you're talking, I mean, you're hitting everything that I myself have overcome in my life journey. Um,
Hmm.
Divorce, man, you're talking divorce, and I've been through it 3 times. So, I totally understand. The social norms, like that's just not something people look at. And when in a Christian setting, it is very much just a frown upon, like you said.
Hmm.
And it's hard because you're working on your spirituality, you're working on improving self, and you're trying to connect to people that can help with that encouragement, because in these times of adversity, it's important to have some supports behind you. But when you're turning to those that should be there, and they're just like
Yeah,
looking at you and judging you, that is
yeah,
so hard. That is so
yeah.
hard. So how did that affect your daily life and well-being?
Well, like you said, when you are getting that from people that you would want to receive the warmthness from, right? And initially it's hard. But then after a while, once you do your healing journey and once you take accountability for your actions and you do the process, over time you start to realize what things you can take and what things you can throw away. So, like, for example, if I'm seeking support or advice from someone who's never even been married, it's like you can't really relate to the situation. So of course you're going to be negative because you've never been in my shoes. But you got to just kind of figure out what's for you, and you have to figure out who you can go to for certain things. Like if I was having issues with my marriage or I needed support in that space, now with society, especially Facebook and different things, they have those support groups. So you have to just find your tribe. And that's what I've done. So when I have issues that I need assistance or support around, I'll go in those supportive settings based off of what I need. And then I'll get it from there, as opposed to picking certain people that I would expect it from. If they've never done it, then, it cancels itself out. So that's how I do it.
Mm, mm. And When you're kind of just giving us a little bit about yourself, the journey that you had to endure, you talked divorce, you talked grief and loss through a miscarriage, and then grief and loss again, because divorce is considered part of that. I would
Yes.
never wish that on anyone. It's hard. And
Yeah.
also single parenting like that. And when it rains, it pours. It feels like it hits one right after the other. And it usually comes in threes like that. At least that's been
Yeah.
my experience,
Mm-hmm.
is it comes in threes. So how did you, like, you've got all this going on. How did you come to an understanding for yourself that, okay, I need to prioritize this challenge first so that I can hit the next challenge, so that I can hit the next challenge, and then that way I can start overcoming?
So for me, it all kind of I tackled what happened first. So first, it was the miscarriage. That was before the divorce. So
Mhm.
the miscarriage kind of was the catalyst to the divorce because instead of us working together, we separated, dealing with that loss. So, once you emotionally start to sever from each other things start to affect that. So I dealt with that first. And I gathered up the strength to not get over because that's something that you don't get over. You just
Mhm.
learn how to move forward. So I learned how to tap into my new normal because before that, I just lived life as a mom of one. So now I have to live life as a mother of one who lost one.
Mm.
So learning how to navigate that helped me once I got my divorce. Okay, it's the same process in regards to healing. It might be a different subject, but the process is still the same. This is a new version of your life. You have to give yourself grace. You've never seen this version of you before. Just like we embrace new days, you have to have that same technique when you're embracing certain stages in your life. So being single parent, this is something new to me. I'm not used to this. So giving myself grace and knowing that I don't have it all together. So
Mm.
I'll seek out help from other people, learning how to ask help and humbling myself because we don't always have it together. We don't always have the answers. I'm not going to always make events now because I'm single. So I have to work more hours. So I would have to ask somebody else to tap in. Can you be here for me to represent? Or
Mhm.
whatever, just learning how to be okay and knowing that I'm doing the best that I can and just celebrating the small wins, taking it day by day.
Oh, girl. So I'm hearing a lot of resilience in this, just what you said, is celebrating, taking it day by day, giving myself grace, accepting what I can control over what I can't control, and understanding that my life has shifted. So I'm
Mhm.
seeing this resilience as you're facing these challenges. Um, what kind of coping mechanisms did you use to help build this resilience?
Therapy, therapy. Jesus and therapy go hand in hand. I say that to
Mhm.
everybody.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Growing up, we didn't do therapy. Growing up, that wasn't frowned upon, but that wasn't talked about. People just, hold it or they hindered their feelings, internalized them. But now that we're older, it's important to seek help. If you get a tickle or a rash or something on your arm, you're going to go and run to Google and see what kind of thing you have because you have these symptoms. So now I had to do the same thing for my life and apply it. Like now I seek therapy and try to figure out the tools. So if I do find myself getting anxious about something or whatever, I know what's triggering it. I know how to navigate through it. So therapy for me, getting back into church. I love music, so I'll ground myself with music. Me being single, what I do now, I have to get up an hour earlier to kind of set my day in the quiet and before my son gets up and do whatever he needs to do, so I wake up in a better spirit or start the day in a better spirit when I show up to these places, and then stay up an hour later after he goes to sleep to kind of debrief. So I'll set make playlists based off my mood. So if I'm in an anxious mood, this playlist is for that'll calm me.
Mhm.
And affirmations, writing in my journal, just being present in the moment and feeling all my feelings, because it's okay to not be okay. Every day is you're not going to have it all together. Every day you're not going to smile, but you do have moments in the day where you can find a reason to smile. So it's all about being grateful for me and just taking in the little things that I didn't pay attention to because I was so busy caught up with other things.
Mm. And I'm just gonna kind of pause here because I feel it. I've experienced single motherhood and raising three children, and oh gosh, you're hitting so many things for me right now in the fact that you talk about humility and asking for help. I was so proud because
Mm-hmm.
anger was my motivation in my when I was going through this. I was so proud. I was like, I'm not going to ask anybody for help. And I know I craved it. I know I was like, yes, I need help.
Yeah.
I need, I need somebody. But it's sometimes humility in just practicing that can pave a way for you and show you that you don't have to bear the burdens alone. Even just emotional support, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um,
Yes,
and then you
that's
talk,
big.
yeah, it is. And then you talk about gratitude and being present in the moment. For me, when I was in that situation, I didn't know how to stop and say, thank you, Jesus, for this time, or even just to appreciate the time, because my thing was surviving. I was always like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? I got to keep going. I got to keep going. Um, but I think that is so important for people to hear is it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to be present and in the moment because you miss out on so much when you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what did you do? Because I mean, healing isn't a step-by-step thing. It's not linear. It is a spiral. Like you're good one
Yes.
day and then you kind of have your moments and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, in those moments of doubt or fear, how did you handle it?
Well, I wrote in my journal. I did that, and I started my podcast. That's what I did. So the first season of my podcast, probably season 2 as well, is my virtual diary. Just being bold enough, because I'm an introvert, and again, with that pride, we don't like to tell people what's going on and how we feeling.
Mm,
I just pressed play and I just started talking, and I was talking about the things that I was thinking about and the things that I was going through. I talked about my um miscarriage, and then season 2 I talked about the things I wish I knew before getting married. And I just put everything into the podcast. And then when I started seeing the responses up towards the episodes, I'm like, oh, okay, people actually either they care or they can relate. Either way, it's a
mhm,
win-win.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
I just started to put it into my episodes. And then when I don't have a good day, I'm honest about that on the show. I'll say, transparency, like this is this and this is that, or blogging, I do that. So I think vulnerability is what the world is missing. And, especially with social media, everybody has smiles and all that stuff. But what is behind the smile? I want to be that person that sees that, like I want to be that person to cheer that person on and say, yeah, you're smiling, but you're not happy. Are you really okay? To ask the right question, because we have to get up every day and put on these hats and have these different roles and all that stuff. And like you said, we're just surviving. And you don't know what somebody asking you, are you okay? Did you eat today? Are you good? Just saying good morning would do for people, because people don't feel like people care anymore. Like the world is missing that vulnerability. So I try to turn myself around, well, turn things around by doing stuff for other people. And then that in
mhm.
turn makes me feel better, because I know that I'm not doing this for something in return. I'm doing this because I didn't have that done for me. So I'm just paying it forward, and then hopefully that person pays it forward.
Oh, and I love that. I love that you're mentioning paying it forward. I definitely do because I feel like as we progress through our challenges in life, it's to be a beacon of light for someone else that
Mhm.
is back in the dark. And
Yep.
so I definitely can relate to that. It just resonates with me so profoundly. So you mentioned humility, you mentioned transparency and authenticity, being genuine. What of these qualities do you feel is the most important that has been the vital quality that has helped propel you towards your success?
I think the combination of all of them, to be honest, but transparency, because I don't have it all together. And I just don't. And I'm honest about that. Because like, social media, you see all these people that say relationship goals and this and that, and everything looks so perfect, but it's really not. Like, we are out here living lives in trauma in real time. Like, we're reacting to people, places, and things based off of how we were while we were 8 or 9. Like, that's how we're
Mhm.
responding. We're
Mhm.
responding with childhood trauma. So,
Mhm.
I want to be vulnerable enough to heal in real time and show other people how to do it, because it's important to make the rest of the time that we have here on earth the best time and show up in these places happy and whole so you can enjoy what you have left.
Mm. That's so true. It is so true. I mean, when we're not healing, we're hurting, and hurt people. That is so
Yes.
true.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, guilty. And I love how you talk about transparency because I think it is true. I think when we lose the humanity within ourselves, we're not able to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we come from a place of judgment and criticism when we need to be of a place where there's compassion and empathy. And that's, I mean, for me in my journey, that's the thing that the Lord had spoke to me in my heart
Right.
as far as you go through these things. First of all, be accountable, be
Yeah.
responsible. You make your choices. And if
Mm-hmm.
if you're not right, you make those bad choices and those consequences follow. But
Absolutely.
it's not his intention for us to suffer. He wants us to thrive. So we need to learn from those mistakes or situations or experiences. What did it teach you about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn through all of this? And I guess that would be my next question to you, is what did you learn about yourself through it all?
I learned that I was stronger than I thought I was, definitely. I learned that it's okay to not be okay. And I learned that my foundation is in my faith, because regardless of what I've been through, it never waived who I believed in. A lot of the times when we go through things, we'll like to blame God or, this, that, and the third. But those things helped me grow closer to Him, trust in Him more, and really learn who I was, because um, it helped me to see me, basically. It helped me to see how I was handling things. It helped me to see, okay, well, you chose this person because of this reason. Not, you didn't choose this person from healed eyes. You chose this person through trauma. So now that you know better, it's time to do better. So
Hmm.
going through everything that I've went through just showed me who I should become and how to get there, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, girl, yes, yes. It does. And so share with us a significant triumph that you achieved against all the odds against you.
um, Starting my podcast, that was a significant triumph, because, I was brought up in that saying, children should be seen and not heard.
Mm,
And that kind of trickled into my adult life. I didn't really feel like I had a voice. And then with my last relationship, because it was very toxic, I didn't vocalize how I felt. I didn't use my voice. So now I'm using my voice, whether you like it or not, because it's mine and I have something to say.
I love that. And again, so I mean, I can relate so much to what you're speaking because I too, children should be seen, not heard. I grew up in that
Mm-hmm.
as well, or what happens here stays here, those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. And I remember when I started Good Morning Minute, it was me just being vulnerable and taking that leap of faith and going, okay, I'm gonna put
Mhm.
myself out there and just see what happens and how it grows and things like that. And it does, because there are people that are listening. They,
Yeah.
you may not get a like or a heart or whatever it is,
Right.
but you definitely are impacting. Whether people are silently listening, they are
Yeah.
listening for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so let me ask you, if someone were to come up to you that may be struggling with similar situations, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them to continue to be vulnerable, continue to seek out the help. Because well, they say closed mouths don't get fed.
Mhm.
So, a lot of the time, well, and all of the times, people are not mind readers. And you don't know who can help you if you do not open your mouth. And the minute that I decided to open my mouth, that's when the doors started opening because I found who was able to help me. And I remember doing a post on Facebook and I said something, and somebody I would have least expected inboxed me a name. And that name trickled into not only help to leave my situation, but a job thereafter. So you don't know who will help you if you don't open your mouth. And ask them what help that they need because maybe it's something that you can do. And if you
Mhm.
can't, you might know somebody who can. So I would just encourage them to continue to be vocal, continue to be vulnerable, and don't worry about the no's because where there are no's, there also are yeses. And that's just not the person that you need to go to. Stick with, if they're a believer, of course, keep praying, keep asking God to show you who you need to confide in,
Mhm.
um, be safe. And, if they need anybody, I would offer my services as well. Maybe they just need, like you said, a sounding board or a listening ear, or maybe they just need to vent. It's not always like a domestic violence or anything like that where they have to flee for safety, but maybe they just need that emotional support. Maybe they don't have family. So I would provide that for them.
Awesome, awesome. And let me ask too, just to go a little further with this question. I mean, you mentioned you're going to receive some no's and you're asking, but don't be afraid to do so and keep doing it. So how do you
Hmm.
stay motivated? Let's say you ask one person, it's a no, you ask another person, it's a no. I mean, when you're coming from a mindset of nobody cares, I'm worthless, when you receive those no's, you kind of affirm your self-belief, and oh, that's right, nobody is here to help me. I mean, that's how I was when I
Yeah.
was going through it, just to be totally honest. Um, and so how do you stay motivated to keep trying and not give up?
Well, for me, I use my daughter as my motivation when I lost her. I wanted to prove to her that I could do it. I wanted to be the woman that she could be proud of. And of course, the two that are living, they could be proud of. And my goal of getting out and who I wanted to become, that goal was stronger than what I was already currently in. So you have to let the goal of where you're trying to be stronger than where you are now. And if you use that to fuel you, you'll just keep going, regardless of the setbacks and barriers and hurdles you got to jump through.
Hmm. Hmm. So you always have to have something in place, is what I'm hearing, that is going to help strengthen the belief in yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so did you have any, I know you said you asked for help, and social media or online platforms were definitely networks that you utilized to help. Did you have a mentor that you eventually kind of stumbled into, or anyone that kind of walked side by side with you?
Yeah, and it was definitely a God move because in every stage, it was somebody walking me through. So leaving, like I said, I've somebody had sent me a message, and that turned into a job and help. That person turned into my mentor to kind of give me that pick me up because I
Mhm.
was I was falling, right? And then once I got the nerve to stand up, then I started to do life coaching. So my life coach, she gave me the push, okay, to get strong. And
Mhm.
then once I finished with that, then I started to do counseling, and counseling took me the rest of the way. So there was
Mhm.
definitely people in play that gave me that. And then now, towards the end of it, 2 years later, now I have a village. Now I have a community
Mhm.
of people who will consistently show up for me every single day with the emotional support. If today is a bad day and I'm just overwhelmed because I got this going and that going and this going, they'll, call me, check in. If I got to cry, scream, whatever, they'll listen. There'll be a
Mhm.
sounding board. And then eventually, as that goes, then you enter a relationship. And then maybe the relationship, you get a companion, and then the companion will help you, see the difference and then add to your life. So as I was going through my journey, little bits of pieces, people were coming in and adding to my
Mhm.
life. So it started to get full again and not as empty as it was starting out.
That's awesome. And I mean, I agree. I think, we all need to find people that we can physically connect to as far as helps and support systems.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important and vital to our success. How would you say that seeing the success of your podcast has just either motivated you or contributed to you planning for future goals?
um it's motivated me because it gives me the energy to continue to show up.
Mhm.
Like you said, with podcasting, you don't know who's listening. You don't know, like, you don't know, like you said, silently listening. I mean, especially if you're on like a Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and you'll see those low numbers.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, when you do your analytics and you see those streams and those downloads from people in Canada or international, those people are listening, and they're dedicated every single week, or however, often you do your podcast. So
Mhm.
that motivates me to keep going, because I know that, again, and that's all tied into the faith, that it's not about me, what I'm doing. And that's something that I want everybody to know too. Like, what you're enduring, it has nothing to do with you, because when we're in it, human wise, we're human, of course, we're going to say,
Mhm.
why me? Why me? Why me? But it's not about you. You are just a tool being used, to help other people. Just like when you watch things or you have mentors, those mentors went through something to help you get to where you need to be. So you are being used to get somebody else to where they need to be. So that fuels me, because I know that this lesson that I'm learning is going to help somebody else. This episode that I'm dropping in my most vulnerable state is going to help somebody else. And it might not be today, but it'll probably be 2 years from now or 3 years from now. That's
Mhm.
the great thing about podcasts. And once you put it out there, it's out there for life. I've listened to many a podcast that are no longer active, and those podcasts were like 2, 3 years old. And I needed that at that particular time. So
Mhm.
I just think about that and I just keep going.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. And it's so inspiring to hear, because the message that I hear through it all is keep trying, don't give up. It'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for people to understand that. And that person that's out there listening going, oh my gosh, this, like many of us, this is the
Mm-hmm.
message that I needed to hear today at this time. And that, I mean, stay encouraged and stay motivated and keep going,
Mm-hmm.
keep pushing yourself, because it will happen. It definitely will. You will see the success come. You will see yourself achieving those goals for sure. All right, SheRa, tell me, what big things can we expect possibly in the near future from you?
Well, in the near future, I am attending an event, March 1st. The Breaking the Silence is going to have an event. It's a podcast, and the host of the podcast, author Nikki Nicole, she is having an event March 1st in North Carolina. I will be one of the speakers, and I will be the MC of that. So I'll be doing more speaking engagements, of course, the podcast, of course, collaborating with other podcasts and platforms, but a lot of more speaking engagements. Everybody's pushing me to start writing. So maybe I'll dabble into a book or to. Sky's the limit for me. So right now I'm just focusing on just helping people heal, speaking, encouraging, and doing what it is that I can do. And if it trickles into a book, then I'll do that too.
Girl, well, let me help encourage that. People need to hear your story. They really do. Because it's in those moments and that of our vulnerability, like you've shared throughout this interview, that we find those inspiration and others can pick up on that and go, okay, I can do it then. I know I
Mhm.
can. All right. So SheRa, how can people get in touch with you outside of this podcast if they wanted to?
You can get in touch with me on my website at SheRaRenee.com. Everything trickles from there. Podcast episodes, you can email me, blogs, all the things funnel from my website at SheRaRenee.com.
All right, everyone, you heard it here. SheRaRenee.com is the way to get in touch with SheRa outside of this podcast. But I want to thank you so much for just sharing your story and being an inspiration for so many of us out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, all right, everyone, that's the end of the interview. And like always, until next time, I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.